I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I'm here with Casper Kelly, director of the Adult Swim Yule Log, and also the creator of Too Many Cooks, the Scooby-Doo Project, and so many other incredible Adult Swim and other shorts. Hello, how are you?
I am great. I'm a fan of Dread Central. I'm so happy to be here talking to you, Mary Beth.
And then I see Cheddar Goblin. You also wrote the Cheddar Goblin segment in
Yes.
Mandy. I mean, like, you are a king of surreal, the weird, and I wanted to just hear more about your influences before we jump into the Yule log and kind of like what has inspired you to kind of go in these really ridiculous, surreal, and incredible routes within like the horror-y, genre-y space.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I guess growing up 80s kid, watching far too much television, and probably watching certain things younger than I should have, and then and Twin Peaks hitting me at just the right age, I'm sure is a big influence as well. And yeah, and high school, I had a friend that got a job at a VHS store, and he just started exposing me to stuff. And it just blew my mind. Yeah.
Like what? Like what were some of your favorites that you watched?
He brought, I think like in 1 week, he brought Blue Velvet, Taxi Driver, 2001, Clockwork Orange, Apocalypse Now, like in 1 week. He's like, I've heard about these movies, we should watch these. I'm like, oh my God, this is, yeah.
Mind absolutely blown.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the Adult Swim Yule Log. Where did this idea come from for you? And like, how did this idea evolve?
Okay, this one was a lucky one. And then I wasn't exactly looking for an idea at that moment, but I was watching a Yule log video, and it was the holidays of just last year. And I just got this image of what if we saw knees walking in front of the fire, sort of out of focus, and you heard a little bit of dialogue. And I'm like, oh wow, yeah. Then you start off in a Yule log and then it becomes a story. That's interesting. So that's really how it started.
And I love that this movie starts out as like a really long static shot. It's just in one place, and it felt very found footagey in a way. I'm curious, are you a found footage fan? Is like there any influences from found footage in this work, or am I just drawing weird parallels?
Absolutely. Fan? I mean, yeah, I saw Blair Witch in the theater, and that blew my mind. And Paranormal Activity and VHS, and yeah, absolutely. And it just seemed to lend itself for this, if with the motif of someone is shooting a Yule log video, it just seemed to lend itself to that idea. So I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, and because I'm a found footage freak, and also you did the Scooby-Doo Project, which I want to ask you about because it's one of my favorite. Yeah. Like, love the Scooby-Doo Project. I know it's a while ago, but like one of my all-time favorite shorts. And I'm a huge, obviously, Blair Witch Project fan, and I think it's just like an incredible example of how to like make a found footage parody with that. But you also meld like every horror genre, I feel like, into one in this movie. And I was curious how it was balancing all of those genres. Like, obviously this is a kind of surreal movie, but you just put so many kind of genre homages in here. And I was curious what that writing process was like to shoehorn and put in all these genres.
It's I thank you for seeing that. It was fun of just like writing, or first of all, I knew these things I love, and then I'm writing and I'm like, okay, we've done this for a little bit. Ooh, what if we now bring in this whole other element? Because I've always it's also sort of like there's all these things I've wanted to do. I've wanted to make movies for so long. There's all this stuff I've wanted to do, and I'm like, why not do them all at the same time in this movie,
And like, what has it been like to direct your first feature film debut? What was that experience like?
It was a thrill and a dream, and also very stressful because it was so compressed. Like, we made this movie in 6 months, I think. Like normally you would have like one editor, but we had to have 6 editors, but they only had like a month to do their section, like, so it was very
wow.
fast. Because we wanted it to air this year, I mean, I spent way more time on Too Many Cooks than this. I mean, this I had to go.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Um, so, but it was exciting. But I mean, I worked weekends and nights to make sure I had enough time. So yeah.
And I really, especially in the beginning sequences, the use of sound design in terms of like you hear a car pull up, and if you're not listening, you might not hear the footsteps. And what was that like working with a sound designer to make these really interesting sound choices, especially in the beginning when we just have the static shot and we're not really following other people around?
Yeah, that was part of the fun of it. And I actually did shoot a test of that, which is so dumb, but I just shot my own fireplace and shot someone walking in front of it and then threw in some sound and go, yeah, it kind of works. Like, you're curious what's happening off screen. It builds attention, And then also I have written some some fictional podcasts for this podcast called The Truth. That was super fun. And that was super inspiring, the way they do that sound design and just build a whole world with sound.
Cool. And I do want to ask you about the Scooby-Doo Project. How did
Please.
that come to be? Like, what was that experience like creating this Blair Witch parody? Not even parody though, it's so creepy with Scooby-Doo.
Well, it was a blast. And it was really I mean, because it's found footage, so we just got a video camera and we're shooting our friends. I shot my mom as one of the characters. And the Mystery Machine was in Canada, and we figured out it was cheaper to fly us to Canada than to somehow get the Mystery Machine down to Georgia. So we shot part of it in Canada, and it was a treat. And it was amazing that was kind of early on what they could do with putting animation in a very shaky camera.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job. But then the end of that, well, it was not a special. It was what's called bumpers, which are the stuff between commercials during a Scooby-Doo marathon. But I wrote it in a way that it could be all fit together to be a special if anyone wanted to do that. And so I remember we had this Scooby-Doo marathon, and then I asked the ratings person at Cartoon Network, "Oh, well, how did it do? Did it do well?" And she goes, "No, it didn't do well at all. Kids were scared, and the parents didn't let them watch it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that." So, but it's very heartening now to see that people remember it and like it. And I've done several interviews about it, so that feels good. Because at the time it was like, oh, I guess I did not do well by the company for that one, but I'm glad it stuck with people.
Oh yeah. And then with Mandy and Cheddar Goblin, did Panos come to you and say, "I want this," like Cheddar Goblin? Like, how, or did you come up with the creature yourself?
He had the idea. It came from his producer, Josh Waller, emailed me. They were in Belgium shooting it, and the section in the convenience store where Mandy works, were building all these fake products, and they had this idea for mac and cheese, and they thought of Cheddar Goblin brand mac and cheese. And so then Panos had the idea of doing a commercial, but he didn't have time to do it because he was doing the movie. So they emailed me about doing it, and I shot it real fast and got it to him real fast. And then they invited me to Sundance to come watch it. And I thought it was going to be like something in the background when other characters are talking, like a little Easter egg. And I get there, and it's like kind of a pivotal scene where it gets a lot of attention. I'm like, oh my God, it was awesome.
Well, and like now Cheddar Goblin's like a cult figure. Like, I feel like everyone loves Cheddar Goblin.
And there's a little Easter egg in this movie that the brand of pimento cheese is similar to the brand of Cheddar Goblin. And we couldn't do it exactly for legal reasons, but it's similar.
Oh God, the pimento cheese is my favorite. The pimento cheese like parts are my favorite. It's just like so ridiculous, and I love those moments of balancing comedy and horror and the ridiculous. And would you want to direct another horror movie?
Absolutely. I've got the bug now. I've got it bad. I've learned so much. I want to use what I've learned now too.
And then my last question is, are you a holiday horror fan of like Christmas horror movies?
I guess I am. I mean, I'm just a horror fan in general.
Cool.
But I like Christmas. It's not like I hate Christmas and want it to be made fun of. I love Christmas. I love both. I like Elf and I like Violent Night or whatever.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's awesome. Well, Casper, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today about Yule Log and Scooby-Doo Project and all of your amazing work.
Absolutely, really Mary Beth, thank you.
So cool.
Oh, and here's one other thing is that's the Too Many Cooks phone right there.
Oh my God. Oh, Too Many Cooks. Again, I quote that in my household all the time, just so you know. It is me and my friends quote it constantly. So Too Many Cooks has been a prevalent figure in my life for a while.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to be a part of your experience.
Thank you.